Hey, the better rifle. Drop the gun! Oh, shit! I'm hit. I'm okay. I'm okay. But I'm not gonna die.
I'm so ready.
All right. We're back again with, today I've got Officer Ronnie. Ronnie's been a police officer for 11 years, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And why don't you tell us a little about yourself? What did you do before you became a cop?
Before I became cop, I was in the military. Did that for probably about 8 years. Did the same thing that most people do that were in the military at that time. Deployed a couple times. Had some fun, and then got out and kind of stumbled into law enforcement. Definitely wasn't my first choice.
Yeah,
I was
been there.
I was completely against finding another job that required me to shave or wear a uniform.
Yeah.
And then I end up in the job that requires you to wear a uniform and shave again. So
okay. And so then you became an officer. What with these 11 years, where have you worked? What kind of assignments?
So I've been fortunate. I was able to kind of move around quite a bit within the department. Start off with patrol like everybody does. At about the 2-year mark, I think I went to our gang unit. Had a lot of fun there. It was probably some of the most fun that I've had as a police officer. Just high, fast paced, high energy kind of unit where we're doing a lot of really fun stuff. Did that for 3.5 years. And while I was in the gang unit, I was fortunate enough to get picked up for our range staff and for our SWAT team, which is a collateral duty, so it's not a full-time gig.
Yep.
But did that for, like I said, 3.5 years, got out. Ended up going back to patrol for a little bit and ended up in community relations shortly thereafter.
There you go.
Wasn't something that I had that was even on my radar.
A little different than gang unit?
Yeah, slightly different. We're we're trying to infiltrate neighborhood watch meetings.
Yeah, there you go.
And instead of gang parties. But I actually after doing that job, I realized like the importance of it. Like there are some good things to that job, and
yeah, for sure.
You do need a good person there to kind of paint a good picture for officers and what we're doing on the street, because a lot of community members have zero idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
Did that. Shortly thereafter, I got promoted to SP and found myself back on weekend nights, like everybody does that gets promoted.
Yep.
Did that for a little bit, and let's see, where did I go after that? After that, I believe I went to traffic. I got asked to go to traffic initially, like a 1.5 years before I went. And I said, well, if you can guarantee me a motor spot, I'll go to traffic, but I don't want to be like a DUI car, and I don't want to do all that other stuff. And the boss who had called me said, no thanks.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, cool. Well, I'll stay in patrol then.
Yeah.
Fast forward like about 1.5 years. Same guy calls me and says, hey, not only will I bring you to traffic, but you'll go straight to motors, and you'll get to go straight to motor school. So I said, cool, let's do it. Wanted to do that because I had heard that it was the most difficult thing in our police department, and kind of one of those guys that like I enjoy a challenge, and I do like motorcycles, but
yeah,
I wanted to see what it was all about, and they definitely didn't lie. It was a very difficult school, but I was fortunate enough to pass, and did that for a little bit, and then I ended up getting hurt, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
You've been on light duty for a little while, or IOD.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on the side, so to talk about the range real quick. So you became a Rangemaster, and then you kind of involved in that in your personal life, right?
Yeah. So about 4 years ago, during the riots is kind of when I started everything. I had wanted to start a business where I taught people how to shoot for a while. I didn't really have anything pushing me to do it though. And then, during the riots, there was a Facebook post that I happened to come across for some reason, and it was a group that was in town, and they were basically threatening police officers' wives or spouses, saying, like, let's follow them home, and when they leave for work, we'll attack them. And for me, that was the catalyst, and I was like, okay, I need to at least do something to try to help arm our, significant others with a way to protect themselves better.
Yeah,
and our children, obviously. So that's kind of how I started my firearms training company. And initially it was like a women's only thing. Like I was only teaching cop wives. And then it just kind of blew up from there. And I've been fortunate enough to be pretty busy whenever I want to.
Yeah.
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 We'll
link to that too in the description. It's really, okay. So we want to talk today about, some calls and on-duty related incidents you've been involved in. Tell us about this car stop you had, for the birthday party.
Yeah. So I was pretty new. I want to say I had been on for maybe a year and a half. I was a solo officer, and like every other cop, at 2:30 in the morning, I'm stopping to get an energy drink at a local gas station. And I go in there, and when I do, the clerk is like trying to wave me down, like, hey, you need to come here. And so I went up there and I said, "Wait, what's going on?" He goes, "There's a girl that just left in this black sedan, and she's drunk."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, okay, well, how do you know she's drunk?" He's like, "Well, I could just tell." I said, "Okay, well, it's going to take me a little bit more than that. I got to prove that." And he goes, "But she just left and she took off really fast." So I said, "Okay." I think he had mentioned like what she was wearing as well. Like she was wearing what looked like a blazer, but just a blazer. He's like, I couldn't see anything else. And so he's like, I just, her demeanor and everything, I'm pretty sure she was drunk. So I get in my patrol car and I see her car pretty quickly and follow her. And right when I get up on her, she makes a quick turn and then she turns down an alley. So I immediately think, oh, she's trying to get away.
Yeah.
She's definitely trying to avoid the police. And she is doing a little bit of swerving. So I was like, okay, maybe this guy's onto something. So I light her up. She pulls over. I go up to the car, and when I get there, she's completely nude. And I'm just as surprised as anybody else would be.
Yeah.
When you walk up to a car, you expect people to be, at least mostly clothed.
Yeah.
But she's completely nude, and she's obviously very embarrassed.
Yeah.
And so I said, like, what are you doing? Like, why do you not have any clothes on? And, she's, like I said, she's super embarrassed. And she's like, it's my boyfriend's birthday. And I just wanted to surprise him for his birthday. And so I was going to be like this. And, when he came out of his house, he was going to see me and, I was going to surprise him. And I was like, okay, well, where does your boyfriend live? And we were in this alley and just directly to our left was some apartments that kind of lined the alley. And she points to an apartment that was probably 25 feet from where I had stopped her. Yeah. So I said, okay, just hang tight. And I went up to her boyfriend's door. Obviously, he's not expecting the police because he didn't call us and would have no reason to have the police knock at his door.
2:30 in the morning.
At 2:30 in the morning. And so I knock at his door, and he's just as surprised as I would imagine somebody would be. And I said, hey, man, do you mind if I see your ID real quick?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, why? And I said, look, you're not in trouble. I just need to see your ID really quick, and I promise I'll get out of here. And he goes, all right. And so he handed me his license, and I looked at his license, and sure enough, it was his birthday. And so I was like, okay, well, fair enough. I'd already determined that she wasn't drunk. Yeah. And I said, all right, dude, hey, your girldirlfriend's got a surprise for you out in the car. Yeah. So
happy birthday.
Yeah. And then I left. And so, that's been, I don't know, probably 10 years. And to this day, I still kind of wonder like how that night ended for him.
Yeah. Like, why did he know it was my birthday?
Yeah. Did you send him?
Yeah. Was this part of the surprise?
Yeah. I mean, he's a handsome guy, but yeah. So I mean, just funny things like that, man. It really keeps the job good.
Yeah. That's, never know what you're going to get in a car stop. All right. Wanted to talk about some free lunch. One of our coworkers likes to get free lunch.
Yeah. So during my time in our gang unit, we had a guy, and I mean everybody who was in at that time is going to know who I'm talking about because it was almost like a daily occurrence. Yeah. Monty. Mm-hmm. He was he's a cheapskate. Yep. And he would do anything for a free lunch. And so we it was almost looked at as a challenge. Like we wanted to push the envelope
to see what you could get him.
What
to do.
could we get him to do to get a free lunch?
Yeah. Because $20 is $20.
Exactly. And I mean, he took that to the limit. Yeah. So there were a couple that stand out to me over the years that were just like amazing that we could get him to do that.
His bottom dollar was way down, way at the bottom.
Yeah. He really sells himself short. Yeah. But so one of the things that we were able to get him to do is that we found, I believe it was a piece of gum in the alley of a really bad part of town.
Mhm.
You know, like, I mean, I can't describe how disgusting this area of town is.
Yeah.
And for somebody to want to eat or put anything in their mouth
Yeah.
from a gutter in that area is insane to me.
Yeah.
But he did it. And I mean, at the time, you think like we're working the gang unit, so we're working nights. Like there's really not any great restaurants open. So
Yeah.
it's
So
not like he's doing this for.
He's not getting a steak dinner out of
Right.
this.
Yeah.
No.
He's not having like a ribeye.
Yeah.
He's getting a burger.
Yeah. Getting a burrito
or
supreme or
some
something.
tacos
Yeah.
or something, maybe some street tacos, like at the best.
Yeah.
And he did it. And I mean, I don't know if he still does that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
Hopefully not.
Another one, we had conducted a search of a hotel.
Yeah.
And
not the Hilton.
It was not the Hilton.
Okay.
It was a much less trying to think of a good way to describe this place. It was pretty run down.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
It wasn't like a penthouse suite?
No.
Okay.
Weird, and this motel is one where ladies of the night frequent.
Yeah.
They conduct business there.
Yeah.
Lots of business.
So it has a second purpose of just not
Absolutely.
only living quarters, but also a business.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they have a business license.
100%. So we had conducted a search in one of those motel rooms, and we noticed that there was some stale birthday cake that was left in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Like, what do you mean by stale?
And I'm talking like it's hard, like probably harder than this table is.
So it's been there for a while.
It looked disgusting. Like it was awful. Like,
okay.
And so we had asked the lady who was renting the motel room. We said, "Hey, like, are you gonna eat this birthday cake?" And she's like, "No, it's like disgusting and it's old."
Yeah.
And so we're like, "Would you mind if one of our partners had a bite?" And she was like, "I mean, if he wants to, which was funny because like if you think about what she does on a day-to-day basis, like, and for her to think that was disgusting,
She was grossed out by the cake.
She was grossed out by the birthday cake.
Yeah.
And yet Monty was like, I'll eat it.
Yeah. I mean,
like no hesitation.
Yeah. I mean, Panda Express is Panda Express.
I mean, but you got to know what's open because if it's past a certain time, like you're getting Jack in the Box.
I got you. Yeah. So this is 8 p.m. It's like, all right, hurry up.
We need to hurry
chow
up because Chipotle's closing at 9. So, like he took a bite of the birthday cake and like, you hate to say that you think less of a friend after they do something, but like, it's hard not to when you watch your friend, like just completely like,
eat dirty prostitute
demoralize
cake.
himself. Yeah. You eat dirty prostitute cake. And I mean, I feel awful for him.
Yeah.
He did that.
And you guys put him up to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
We did. And I mean, there's a ton of other stories about him doing stuff like that, but those are the two that like really stand out to me as like some of the wildest stuff that we were able to get him to eat or just to put in his mouth for a Taco Bell lunch.
So there's other sort of challenges and games that are played down in that gang unit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about what happens if you leave your equipment laying around.
I usually some pretty creative things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
A few in particular is, I'm always the type of guy that like, I never want to go to the bathroom like at work. And when I don't want to take a shit at work.
Yeah. Why not?
Well, one, the bathrooms are disgusting. And two, you can't trust your partners.
What?
Like you can't trust the guys you work with to not mess with your stuff.
But the upside is you're getting paid to take a dump.
You are getting paid to take a dump.
I mean, you do it at home, you're doing it for free.
Yeah.
Like if it's the morning and I'm getting ready.
And you might even be getting paid time and a half for it.
Yeah. If I'm getting ready for work and I got one on deck, like I'll hold it so that I'll go when I get to work. Because if I do it at the house, that's for free.
So then you're like professionally.
Yeah, I want to get paid to take a dump.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So I was always, I think maybe because of some of the games that I had played on people, I was just in fear of retaliation.
Yeah.
And so it was a way to protect myself from any of those.
Okay. You always got to bring your flashlight when you go in the bathroom because they're going to turn the lights out on you.
They're going to turn the lights off.
I mean,
you might even get stuff thrown at you.
Yeah. Just be prepared.
Yeah. Just be ready. And so we had this one guy in particular. I mean, I guess I could say his nickname. His nickname's Chief.
Yeah.
And he took a shit like every day at work. It was just like clockwork. Maybe he looks at it the same as you, as he wants to get paid for it. But it's when we're all in the office and we're doing workups or we're typing paper from the night before or whatnot. So he would take his belt off, leave it at his desk, and he would then, go into the bathroom and do his thing.
Yeah.
And I always took it upon myself to mess with people when they did stuff like that. Like I always loved to have fun. So what I would do,
gear adrift.
Yeah. And so, I was a Rangemaster at the time, and I went through some armor schools, and I was pretty handy with a Glock and a Glock tool.
Yep.
And so what I would do is I would, clear out his pistol, and then I would take it apart down to, the barest form
Bare
it could
bones.
be. Yeah.
So
every extractor
and all the
springs.
officers are trained on the slide, the barrel, the recoil spring, and the lower.
Yeah.
So from the academy, you think there's 4 parts to the gun,
Right?
But in reality, there's something like, I think it's like 27 parts.
Yeah, there's so many more.
There's a lot.
And so what I would do is I would take it down to those 27 parts, and then I would leave it as like a breadcrumb trail to the bathroom to let people know where he was,
where to find him.
Yeah, where you find
where's Chief, and then you just follow
you just follow the gun parts. But I'd also use like the bullets from his magazine, and the spring from his magazine, and the base plate, things like that. And it was a blast until our lieutenant walked in and saw the bullets that led to the springs, that led to the slide, that led to the barrel and the frame.
Sounds like a pretty tight trail.
Yeah, because there was quite a few parts. It was like 49 rounds.
Yeah,
and everything else, and it went from his desk to the stall he was in, and so I had a boss come in, and he got pretty upset at whoever had done that. Obviously, nobody
admitted to it.
Nobody admitted to it.
Yeah, a lot of Rangemasters working in the gang at that time.
Just one, just one.
I have no idea how that happened.
Yeah, I was just as surprised as everybody else. At least I acted that way.
So I was a gang unit officer too. And when I was brand new, this is before smartphones. So this is like 2010. Well, smartphones existed, but not everybody had them. And we had Nextels that we would communicate with. We had a perch to talk. You perch and chirp, and you could talk like a walkie-talkie. So I'm brand new. I've been there for like maybe a month, and I'm riding with Officer Pete, and he's been in the unit for probably a year now, and I didn't really know him at all, and I was kind of nervous. And he's a senior guy, he's got some experience, and I'm in the passenger seat, and he's in the driver's seat, and we're driving around, in a certain part of town. And the games that used to get played back then, I don't know if they still do this now or not, but it was the summertime too, so this is like, it's hot. It's like really hot, and where we live, it gets pretty warm. Yeah. We're driving around and being proactive, and so we got the windows down like you're supposed to, and one of our partners pulls up alongside us as we're going down the street 30, 40 miles an hour, and he's from the driver's seat of his car, he hook shots like a 44-ounce strawberry Fanta fountain drink from his car, and it goes over his car, and it hits right above the open window of Pete's car where he's driving, and I'm in the passenger seat. So it hits and it explodes. Strawberry Fanta, all like just rain strawberry Fanta all over him, all over the radio. Like not a drop hits me, right? But like everything else is just soaked in strawberry Fanta, and I was like, oh damn, like that's fucked up, right? So he just immediately is like fuming mad. He pulls over and he pulls into an alley and he parks the car, and he puts it in park, and he closes his eyes, and he's just sitting there just like fuming, not saying a word. And again, I don't know him, like we're friends now, but like I don't know. I'm like the new guy sitting there all nervous, like I don't know
is
what
this
to do.
what this unit's all about?
Yeah,
that's what we do.
And so the gang unit has their own private radio channel that nobody else can hear, and so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden you hear the radio kicks on, and you hear the song playing over the radio. Want a Fanta? Don't you want a Fanta? And he gets all fucking mad. He turns the radio and turns the radio off, and he's just sitting there all mad. He's quiet, and then I'm just sitting there like, shit, I don't know what to say. And then his next tail goes beep beep, and he goes, "Want a Fanta? Don't you want a?" And he's like pulls it out. He's like turns the phone off, and he's sitting there all mad. And he's just like fuming mad. And then I'm just sitting there like, dude, this is getting real awkward. And then my phone goes beep. Want a Fanta? Don't you want a? He's like, turn your fucking phone off.
That's so good.
Oh man.
Those are the best. Like,
Those guys.
I think that's the best part about being a police officer is like the funny things that you do with your friends and like that make it to where, like, I used to tell my wife when I was in gangs, like, I never felt like I was going to work. I felt like I was going to go hang out with my friends for 10 hours.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes 18, sometimes
Sometimes,
26.
you know, yeah, whatever. So,
Sometimes just days.
yeah, it's like the sun. You measure your days and how many times you put on and took off your sunglasses.
Yeah.
Before you went home.
Yeah,
a couple
absolutely.
of times.
But you know, it made it so much more fun, and it made it. I think that's why like having the right people in units like that is so important because
sometimes you can go too far.
Yeah, I mean,
tell us about the gang workup.
So, a good buddy of mine, Ryan, we're super good friends now. At the time, we had a bit of a rocky relationship. He was just, I didn't know him at the time. And so, and I'm a really like laid back, chill guy. Like, I mean, I think that most people know me would agree with that. And he's very intense. Yeah. To say the least. Yeah. He's just serious all the time. It's just him. Now he does have a very funny side to him. But if you don't know him, you're a little
off put at first.
Yeah. But I tell people he's like whiskey. Like he's 100% like whiskey. Like the first time you try him, you're not gonna like him. Yeah. But he's an acquired taste. Yeah. And now like I love the dude. Like he's like my brother. But at the time, it was tough for me to get along with him because I'm a real carefree, like chill guy, and he's very intense, and like we just kind of clashed. So we were both in the gang unit together, and he'd done this like really big workup on these gangs, and I'm talking like hundreds of pages, like, and he was really proud of it, as he should be. And I came in the office and I saw this stack of papers on his desk, and for whatever reason, I just felt like I needed to throw them.
Yeah, they weren't stapled together.
They weren't. No. And maybe I felt like he needed something to do when he got into the office. And so I just took them and I threw them. And so like hundreds of papers just go everywhere in this office. And he walked in, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes later. And I was sitting there on my computer doing my thing. And I was the only person in the office, mind you. And like prior to me being in there, nobody was in there other than our clerk. Yeah. And thankfully our clerk, she was just as down as the rest of us. Yeah. So like she was tight-lipped. Like she wasn't going to say anything.
The sights those eyes had seen.
Oh yeah. Oh, because she was privy to everything that we did because she was the only person who was like the constant. Yeah. So I throw these papers and I go back to work, and he walks in and he loses it. Just like, who the fuck did this? Like who threw my papers? And he looks at me, he's like, Ronnie, did you do this? Did you see who did this? I was like, Ryan, that's crazy. I've been here 20, 30 minutes. It was like that when I got here. Yeah. He's like, no, I locked the doors last night when I left, and nobody's been in here since. He's like, only we have keys. So I said, Ryan, I don't know, dude. I'm just as surprised as you are. Yeah.
Sounds like a burglary or something.
Yeah, it's weird. We should really investigate that. If only we had cameras in here. It's a bad idea. But then he asked our clerk, said, hey, Naomi, did you see what happened? She goes, I didn't see anything. I've just been swamped with work. So
didn't see nothing.
Didn't see nothing. I plead to fifth. And
she said, nah, I was asleep.
Yeah, I was asleep. But yeah, and then again,
So wait, if you get a reaction out of somebody, does that usually cause less or more pranks to happen?
Oddly enough, you would think that if somebody got upset about it, that you would stop. You'd
say, their feelings get really hurt about it. You're like, no,
I shouldn't have done that. I crossed the line, unprofessional.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. I'm assuming, right?
No, it's quite the opposite. As soon as you get a reaction, it's blood in the water and we're sharks. Yeah, it's like, oh, he didn't like that. I should do more. and so like things like I'm sure you have a lot of experience with evidence tape, but you know how thin and impossible that is to get off.
Yeah, once it gets on something, it's there.
Right, and I mean that's what it's it's designed to be like.
The whole purpose.
Yeah, and so what somebody did to this guy's desk, it's just unfathomable. They took rolls, like multiple rolls of evidence tape, and I'm just assuming based on how much there was on this desk and chair and floor around, but they had evidence tape his entire desk. Yeah. They evidence taped anything that was on his desk. They evidence taped it to the desk. It was completely red. Yeah. They evidence taped his chair, the drawers in his desk. And I'm sure that I don't think that anybody uses that desk now. They probably got rid of it.
Yeah, they had to
because
throw that out. It's no good.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Yeah,
I don't think that tape ever came off that desk.
It
Like, I
doesn't
think
come off.
he ended up just keeping it on there as like a.
That becomes
I
a new
don't-
surface.
You know, like at a way, like I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, I'll power through it, but like deep down, like he hated it.
Oh, dude, and the pranks. I had a prank on me one time when I was a Rangemaster, and you know, I'd come out of the gang unit and went straight to the range. And if you leave your computer unlocked, you know this one.
Yeah, people will let you know, hey, Travis, like you left your computer
You
unlocked.
left your computer
Would you
unlocked.
like me
You
to-
probably shouldn't do that anymore.
Would you like me to close it?
Yeah, so you know the rule is your desktop background gets changed to whatever the picture is, and the rule is if you get caught, you have to leave that for 1 week so that everyone gets a chance to enjoy it.
Fair.
So I started working at the range. They don't play those kind of games at the range, so I had started to get soft, and so I had left mine open one time, and our
That's what happens.
mutual friend Isaac comes in one day. He catches me slipping. Computer's open. I'm bebopping around outside somewhere. I come back in, I go to sit down on my computer, and it's Justin Bieber in the shower is my new background. And so, you know, I'm playing the game correctly. I leave it on there for my week, and you know, then I kind of forget about it. A week turns into a month, which turns into like 6 months, which turns into like quite a while, right? And so during this time, we were having some problems with our guns. We were shooting 40 cal Glocks, and we ended up transitioning to 9mm. But when we were doing that, we had to call the Glock rep out. So the Glock rep comes out, this guy named Dave, and I explained to him what's going on, and I'm like, you know, we've had these malfunctions, and I said, I've got some pictures of the malfunctions. So like,
Along with
let me show
other
you the
things.
pictures of the malfunctions. You know, I'm not thinking about
Yeah.
my desktop because I've
No.
gotten used to it. It's just become
Yeah.
part of my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, come over here to my desk. So I sit down on my desk, and he comes around the back, and I tap the mouse to like activate the screen, you know, to get rid of the screensaver, and it pops up, and my desktop is there. And this guy that I've never met before is standing behind me, the rep from Glock, and Justin Bieber in the shower pops up on my screen. And so I have this moment where I'm sitting thinking to myself,
Do I say something?
do I explain to this man I've never met why I have a picture of naked Justin Bieber? And like,
You just let it be awkward.
no, we're just going to go for it. So I just like didn't say anything and just went through, like pulled up the pictures and just showed him like,
Yeah, like I wonder what was going through his mind. And
yeah.
like I wonder if he wanted to say something, but he was like, I don't want to make it any more weird than it already is.
It's like, man, I better give these guys a good deal on these guns.
Yeah, yeah. Get a picture of me in the shower. It's funny that you mentioned the computer ones. That actually brings something else to mind. Is again, I screwed up and I left my computer open. I think I was typing a paper, and I had went to the restroom real quick. And I'm talking like I just went pee, like 30 seconds max.
Yeah.
I was gone for 30 seconds, thinking like,
Oh, that's
I should
plenty
be
of
able to
time.
get. I should be able to get there and
No,
back.
come on now.
And nobody's gonna mess with it because I want to say there was only 1 or 2 people in the office when I left. And little did I know that like they were all gonna flood in. Like as soon as I left the door, they must have came in the other one. And so I walk out. I go use the restroom. I come back, and what I quickly realize, I shouldn't say quickly. What I realized after I started retyping my paper was that every time I would type the word "the," it turned into penis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And-
autocorrect.
Yeah, and like you don't pick up on that right away because I'm just getting after it. I'm just typing, you know. And as I go, every so often I would stop and proofread. And the first time I stopped to proofread my message or my paper, I'm like, why the hell does it say penis everywhere? I'm like, I didn't type that. And obviously like you look around and it's poker faces. Like you get good. You get really good. Lady Gaga would be impressed. But so I look around, and you know, just people are just like,
It's weird.
just doing their work.
Ronnie
You know,
just loves talking
like,
about penis.
yeah. And
You know, it's an official document, right?
and then sure enough, like somebody would come up and be like, Ronnie, why do you have penis in your report so many times?
Yeah.
Is this like a sex case? It's like, no, this is actually a gun arrest.
Narcotic sales.
But for some reason, I mentioned the word penis about 87 times.
Oh man, Dan, our mutual friend Dan got a guy one time, and Dan is such a nice person, but he's got a mean streak in him. Another incident, computers left unlocked, and they screenshotted the desktop
Ooh,
this
that
time.
one's tough.
And then they took all the icons that were on the desktop, they put them in a folder, and they put it off the screen so you couldn't see the icons in the folder. And then the background was the screenshot of it, so it looked like the icons were still there. And so that took they had to actually take it to IT to get it fixed. But then he gets it back from IT, and like a week later, he's sitting there and he's typing a report, and he uses Microsoft Word, and they got into his autocorrect on Microsoft Word.
Oh, yeah.
And so they changed it. So every time he wrote the word I, it would say gay. And every time he wrote the word and, it would say poop. And so he's just sitting there in the office, and he's like typing away. And then he gets all frustrated. He goes, "Why do I keep typing poop?" Again,
man.
poker face, just weird.
Why would you
do that? It's,
Like, what kind of report are you writing,
that's
bro?
unprofessional.
Yeah, come on. Get your head. Get it together.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ron, thanks for coming out and talking to us, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone out there listening, and stay frosty.
Yeah.